Hello there and welcome back to Four Times in a Podcast. You join us on Monday the 1st of December. It is the end of a 3-game away week for Celtic. Obviously we were on after the St Mirren game where Celtic won 1-0, but since then we've had two fantastic results. We went to Rotterdam in the Europa League and won 3-1. Celtic's first away win in Europe in 4 years, I believe, after the Ferencváros game under Ange. And then we topped it off with a trip to Easter Road on Sunday where Celtic won 2-1, goals from Dyson Maeda and Arne Engels. Hearts also dropped 2 points on Saturday, which means Celtic are now within 2 points of the league leaders, and if they win their game on Wednesday and the game on Sunday, they'll be top of the table with a game in hand. So it's been definitely a positive period for Celtic despite the unrest off the field which continues. It's myself, Darren, here with Tony, Andy and Danny. So Tony, I'll come to you. It's as I say, it's a tale of what's going on off the field, but right now we're in probably the best form, not even questionable, it is the best form we've had all season, and a really great week. 3 tough away games, and we've come out of it with 9 points, with 6 of them in the league and 3 in the Europa League as well. Quite magnificent for Martin O'Neill and his team.
See that bastard Dermot Desmond? No, it's been an exceptional week, like really, really good on the pitch. And I think Martin O'Neill, Maloney, Fotheringham and all the players deserve immense credit. Really, 3 games that I didn't think we'd win any of them. I thought we'd really struggle, and we dug it out. St Mirren was bad. We admitted that, and we were quite lucky. But they're the kind of moments that can change things, and it was a huge goal by McGregor. And obviously the next day, Hearts go and lose, so you cut the gap there. Feyenoord, I think our predictions for that were miles off. I think I actually predicted the correct score just the other way. An exceptional result. And it's exactly what you want to see more consistently from Celtic in Europe. Going to perceived difficult venues and putting on a really, really competent display and getting such a huge result. Delighted for the fans there. I follow quite a lot of people on kind of social media, and it's the same people that go home and away all the time, and they've seen all the disasters, the 6-0s, the 7-0s, the 7-1s, and I was delighted for them. Obviously, it's always a surprise if Celtic get a result away from home, and to go and beat the team that's second in the Dutch league and beat them easy. Obviously, they took the lead, but after that, from what I've seen, I thought Celtic absolutely controlled the game. I thought it was quite an easy victory. They had spells, but I thought Celtic always looked okay. I thought Celtic were going to win the match. I thought the third goal was an excellent finish. I thought Hatate looked really good. I'll let Andy obviously have his say in Hatate because he's his biggest fan. But overall, just a very, very good performance. And we've been saying since Midtjylland beat us that Europa's done and forget about the Europa and play a rested team. But that kind of blows the Europa back into it, puts us back into it. It opens it up for us. As it stands, we're in the kind of the spot to play a playoff. So you need to start kind of looking at it seriously again. Obviously, the next game's very hard against Roma, but Celtic Park, it's probably going to be close to a sellout, I would imagine. If you can get a result there, then Bologna away probably be tricky, and then if you could beat Utrecht at home, I've actually got this kind of funny feeling that we're going to end up winning a knockout tie post-Christmas, because that's the one thing this board have been hammered by for years, and it's been kind of a big part of the campaign against them. We've not won a post-Christmas knockout tie since 2004 and just never won these ties. And I thought it would be just so typical because they carry a lot of luck, the board, for sure, that this is the season where, in the middle of protests against them, we finally win a tie after Christmas and then progress to a further round. So part of me starting to think that might happen. In terms of yesterday's game, I actually only caught the second half because I wasn't well. I was lying in my bed, so I seen the goals. I thought Hatate again pressed really well for the first goal. It was a bit of a gift. The second goal's really good play. It's where the ball's well carried for Saraki, and then Yang puts in a good cross. And Engels, to be fair, is brave. I thought it could have been a red card, to be fair, for the guy that booted him in the face, but never happened. The second half wasn't great, but I think this is the kind of period where you're just desperate for the full time whistle for the games, and you're just wanting to dig out results. And it's a huge 3 points, as much as it wasn't a pretty second half. I thought, apart from the penalty, which is kind of debated, I think Liam Scales says it was a penalty. I can see why it was given, but overall, handball rule, I think they chop and change it every week. I thought the one in Yang was a penalty where the guy basically headbutted him. But I just think it's a very good result. And again, Hearts, it's harsh for me to say Hearts drop points because at the moment Motherwell are probably one of the informed teams and Hearts on the exit. Well, I guess Hearts probably didn't think they would be in the position they're in. I guess if they want to be title challengers, it is drop points. So we're now in the position where we're 2 points behind them with a game in hand and we play them on Sunday. So it's all kind of flipped round since Martin's been around. So just huge credit to him. It's been great to see how well he's done. And I think when he came in, I was kind of pessimistic, not because of him, but just because of the state of the squad and the state of the club as a whole. But I think when it comes to the on-field stuff, he's done miraculously well. The only defeat away to Midtjylland, I don't think anybody can really hold that against them. I think that was a game we were always going to lose. They're just much, much better than us. But he's recorded some huge victories. A win against Rangers, a win away to Feyenoord, a win at Easter Road. I think it showed you in Sky yesterday that our record there after European games it is usually quite poor. And our record there in general for years hasn't been great. So he's come in, he's got a really funny manner about himself. He can be quite self-deprecating, but he can also get stuck at tore into people as well and noise people up. So I think look, you see the reaction. Every Celtic fan loves him, and quite a lot of Celtic fans want him to stay on, which I think could be quite damaging to the next manager anytime he drops points. I think there's a fear that any time fucking Wilfried Nancy picks his nose, people go, oh, fuck that, go and get Martin O'Neill on the phone. So I think he's going to need to hit the ground running because O'Neill's he's won every league game. And he obviously he won the semi-final. So it's a big shoes for the next manager to fill. But I just can't credit him enough. And if we win it in this season, hopefully that is the case, then Martin O'Neill deserves a hell of a lot of credit.
Definitely, I think it probably can't be understated how much an impact he's had, and I'm sure when we look back in May time for a wee season review, he'll play a massive part in it. Danny, as we say, is a fantastic week for Celtic, and I think it was quite fitting that I think it was the first time since that Ajax away game under O'Neill, the first time around that we've went to the Netherlands and won. I think you sort of cursed it by saying O'Neill hadn't won in a sort of group stage or league stage away from home, so that's something he's put right before he does depart. Who knows when that'll be, if it'll be Wednesday. I know he seems quite certain it will be, but before that he was quite certain it'd be Sunday, so a fantastic week for Celtic again.
Thursday night was great. I thought they played really well and they rode their luck at times in the second half, but I've always thought we carried a threat when we went forward. Defended really well as a team in the midfield really got to grips with the game. I thought Engels on the Thursday night, McGregor and Hatate really kind of worked really well in the middle of the park together. It was a great result. We've been screaming out for a result like that for years, and to get it when we all thought we would probably start doing is really, really good. And I was really happy watching the game. I thought there was some really mature performances. Yesterday I didn't think we would win it. Normally I'm really optimistic, but I just thought maybe Hibs seem to raise a game against Celtic. We've got a horrible record at Easter Road in the last couple of years, and I just thought maybe we would struggle, but first 20 minutes I thought Hibs played quite well, but I didn't think we were that bad. I thought we knocked the ball about quite well when we got it, just Hibs were right up for it. And then once we kind of got the first goal and then the second goal so quickly, some of the football we played in the first half was as good as we've played in years. I mean, that second goal is as good a goal as we've scored in a long time, and it would have been better if Sriracha would have smacked that in instead of hitting the post, because that was a fucking fantastic move. And you could see the team were playing with a bit of confidence. And then the penalty, I mean, Scales says he's got no complaints, but I don't know, to me it hit his shoulder, but it might have hit his horn, and probably you can see why the refs gave it. His horn's at a pretty weird position, but you can see why they gave it. And then after that, I thought the last 20 minutes it was just a matter of time before Hibs get the equaliser, but the team dug in and really dug deep, got us the 3 points, and then when you couple it with Hearts' result on Saturday, you're 2 points behind with a game in hand, and you're looking forward to Wednesday night now against Dundee, a team that we really should be beating. I know we lost to them the last time, but we should be beating them, especially at home. And suddenly the season was kind of back to a right half about 5-6 weeks ago, and now we've got a cup final to play for. You're about to go top of the league again, and there's just a fucking glimmer of hope actually doing something in Europe. So I just need to thank Martin O'Neill for kind of saving the season and just having the players believe a wee bit. I still think we need a permanent manager in as soon as possible, and when this Wilfried Nancy thing can get sorted, the better. But no, yesterday it was great to win in Europe away from home. We hardly do that ever, but I was really happy with yesterday's 3 points. I thought it was a really massive 3 points.
Aye, absolutely, and as you say, sort of Hearts have dropped points again, and I think that's 4 out of the last 5 they've maybe dropped points in, and like, well, if we played our game in hand, we'd maybe be top already, but it just means it's such a good feeling around the club at the moment, and obviously, as you say, we lost to Dundee last time, but at home you'd fully expect us to go and handle them, and then it just sets up a massive occasion on Sunday. Andy will bring you in, as we said, 2 great performances since we've been on. We first off that Feyenoord game, and then the Hibs game yesterday. But Tony sort of says your hero Rio Hatate really stepped up and contributed with a goal and a couple of assists. What's your thoughts on just in general him and the team as a whole? It was real character from them, and Thursday I thought to come back from 1-0 down we could have really crumbled like we did in Michelin before that, but it just shows how quickly this team's grown under Martin.
Aye, I think after the performance against St Mirren, look, we were fucking terrible, and captain obviously steps up there and digs us out, and as you say, look, listen, we've seen Celtic under numerous managers, and the amount of times we go away from home in Europe, concede an early goal, and it all just sort of unravels. I think a lot of us probably thought, here we go again, and listen, I did as well. When they score the first, I think, here we go, this is going to be another 3 or 4. But no, to my surprise, I think the team really stepped up, and I think you've seen... I think, to be honest, the last couple of games, you have seen a real togetherness with the players. And you've seen them all just fucking working and really, really putting a shift in. And obviously, sometimes that's what's required. I mean, I think to a man, listen, there's some players that you can improve on and everything else, but I think when players are getting their opportunity and they're just putting the effort in. Like, it will not always come off for you. You'll make mistakes, but I think one thing that I would say about everybody who seems to be playing a part now is that they're all getting 100%, and I don't doubt that at all. I think even guys like Yang, who had probably, for a lot of people, really was gone, and listen, I'm not saying Yang's suddenly going to become starting left winger, but you go out to Feyenoord, he starts, which maybe surprised a lot of people, and then he scores, and then again goes into the Hibs game, starts again, and he's working really, really hard and putting a shift in. On Hatate, I mean, I'm sure people listening already know what I think of Rio Hatate. I think that he is such an influential player, and I think you're seeing that. We're using him really, really wisely, and we're sort of that way we're trying to get balls in behind, and somebody that can thread the needle, and is they willing to give the ball away by trying something. In a day, I think it's something we've been missing, that it's coming off, and he's been absolutely vital the way we're playing. But I wouldn't just say it's just him. I think Arnie Engels is somebody who's taken a lot of fucking criticism. I think the both of them have. And Engels has always worked really hard, but I think he's starting to put a lot of it together. I mean, he's obviously scored a goal against Kilmarnock and then gets the goal against Hibs as well, and I think he's just that's something that sometimes he gets through wee spells, and if I was to be really harsh, I would say maybe he doesn't score enough goals, because I feel he's got that real sort of box-to-box potential, and I think the goal that he scored against Hibs is something that, see if he could just add that merit to his game. I think there's such a good player there. There's so much potential to build on, because he does have all the attributes. And I know that's something that's been said for a long time, but it's watching him, you can see that he does. So putting that together is refreshing to see, and a lot just seems to be coming off. And I think it spoke to me a lot. The players have obviously bought in and have sort of bounced back and really sort of playing for the manager, playing for the coaching staff, playing for the club, playing for the fans, like all that shite about protests and everything else putting players off. Like, the players have put it together themselves. They've done that, and they've done it with the help of the coaching staff. Clearly nothing else that's going on in the background affects these players, because with all this going on, with people, all the sort of disharmony and the disregard that the board are treating fans with, and they're just blatant contempt. Like, the players are out there gone and winning away from home in Europe. They're gone snatching victories in the last minute out in Paisley. They're going to Easter Road, which traditionally, particularly in recent years, has been a fairly difficult place for us to go at times, and winning the game and seeing it out at the end. But Feyenoord was a great result. Listen, I don't think they were brilliant. I was actually pretty surprised how poor they were, but I don't say that to take anything away from us. I thought we were entirely deserving of the victory. I thought the players... It's something that they did deserve, they have deserved, and I think it's such a platform to build on. I mean, I just think it was Tony that said it. Like, many of us did write Europa League off, and I mean, if you lost that game, you probably were looking at it saying it's maybe fucked now, but you're right in amongst it, and you'll probably be able to sort of sneak through with maybe another win. I think it was Dan, you said it before, 10 points seems to be the number that last season seen pretty much everybody in 10 points through, and another win gets you that, so aye. Brilliant, and it's, as I say, it's such a platform to go and not really fear anybody else in that competition, because you've went away to, again, a difficult place and got a result, and it's not just as if we scraped by. Like, we were deserving winners and we were convincing winners, so really, really happy with that. And then again, go to Easter Road, and I think the confidence was rightfully flown at that point. And you know that, again, if they put it together, that no team in the league should threaten us, really. We get 2 quick-fire goals within half an hour. And then it's just the game management kicked in, which is something that sometimes you can maybe be a bit guilty of. I know having it, but I thought we seen it out really well. I didn't really feel... You know what it's like? Sometimes you sit in these games and you're only a goal up and you're fearful, but I didn't really get that. I thought, again, the subs were pretty good when they came on. Like, if with their goal that came, if it was going to be a penalty, and again, I just thought, unless it was going to be something like that, I wasn't overly concerned. So I was really, really impressed with just the togetherness that I'm seeing for the players and the way they're playing and sort of starting to put things together. And I mean, just you've still got, obviously, quite a few bodies missing in terms of Jota and Alistair Johnston and Carter Vickers, but the players just seem to be continuing to just motor on and just get themselves together and go again, and it's something that you need, particularly at this part of the season. We've said it year in, year out, when the games come thick and fast. I mean, again, we're playing Wednesday night before you play a top of the table clash against Hearts, and then you've got Roma, and it's difficult games, and it's games that's coming fast. And I would agree with what Tony says earlier, that I was fearing the worst for this run, if for nothing else, with how poor we'd been at like Paisley and stuff like that. Like, just with the amount of players that have been out injured too, you feel pretty vital, and the way things had been going. But no, I've just got to give credit to the management team, to the players. That we'll call it when it's bad, but when they're out putting performances in like that, and I think the huge thing, you've seen what it means to the travelling support. As has already been said, these are guys that go everywhere, spend fucking fortunes. They pay for every ticket, they pay for every flight, the whole lot, and they deserve that. And again, it's brilliant to see, and it's just such a platform to kick on for. And I think that gave us a lot of confidence getting into the Hibs game, and I think probably that feeling that it's gave around the club has helped us through there and helped us through that game and really be comfortable. But as I say, I wasn't overly threatened, but I think there's a lot of positive performers. I think there's a lot of players that have sort of kicked on and are finding their form again. Maeda just seems to be slowly but surely coming back to the player that he was last season, just being a fucking pest and absolutely hassling everybody and starting to get in amongst the goals. But I think all the players deserve credit. I really do. Michael making a couple of saves as well, who's obviously had his problems and his critics from time to time. But I really, really happy, Dan. I think the players deserve a massive amount of credit. The way they've sort of picked themselves up, and with all the stuff going on in the background, I think it speaks to a lot of the character of these players and the togetherness that they have. And even with like, the captain, McGregor, I think he's another one that deserves credit. Like, he's dug us out time and time and time again, but I think doing that against St Mirren is just sort of set us up for a great run, and it's just really get the players up for it and up for the fight. And people had sort of counted us out and were sort of shiting themselves about Hearts and all the rest of it, and a few had said it on here that could they do it week in, week out? Do they have that sort of championship instinct that players like McGregor have got? And I think that's what you're seeing. I think you're seeing that these are seasoned winners. These are guys that they're showing that they don't know when the game's up. They're showing that they don't know basically when to lie down and say it's over. And it's brilliant just to see a winning Celtic team and a winning Celtic team that are gone and giving you that confidence against most teams again. But really happy, Dan, and God bless Rio with that.
I think you're right to give the team a lot of credit as well. I think we've been pretty consistent this season where even when the sort of performances weren't there, we've always sort of maintained it wasn't for the lack of trying. There was just maybe a bit of a lack of quality, and I think that was sort of evident in the second half yesterday. Like, I'm not going to dig him out, but I think when Ralston came on yesterday, the level just dropped and the full team sort of seemed to drop with it, but I think they deserve a lot of credit for how they've bounced back. Like we've said, we thought Europa League was done, and when they went one down, they could have easily thought the same, but they responded, and as you have said, we won relatively comfortably. We were deserved winners, and when Nygren put that third in, it just was sort of a cherry on the cake. It was just a brilliant finish, and do you know, it's a shame that all the off the field shite's happening, because it will be a memorable night, but it should have been like an even more memorable one where everybody's sort of together and just enjoying it, whereas the sort of atmosphere around the club and now people are fucked off for the Europa League and expecting the worst, whereas that was a great performance and really great victory. And as you say, it's alright to say Feyenoord had lost a few in a row as well, but we're no in great shakes. We're sitting second in the league, and I think it was 27th against 29th or something when we kicked off, but as Winnie says, it's put us in a playoff position at the moment, and we've got 3 games left. Like Roma, that'll be a tricky game next week, but at the same time, we'll be at home, we'll be looking to take the game to them, and then the 2 after that, you've got Bologna away, which it's a tricky game, no doubts about that, but seeing they get beat 3-1 tonight at home to Cremonense, who were inspired by Jamie Vardy, who got a double tonight, so you never know what might happen on that one. And then you've got the game at the end of January against Utrecht, where Barkas will be back at Celtic Park, so you've got to, and the thing is, Utrecht are behind Feyenoord in the league, so you've got to hope that if you can beat Feyenoord, you can beat Utrecht, and look, if we get 3 points out of the last 3 games, then it will likely be enough, I think, probably dependent on goal difference, but 10 points, I think, from all the sort of data people seem to be suggesting that would put us through, so it gives them a chance. And like, this is the same squad that was the thing we say, is how there was so many of these players who were involved against Bayern Munich, so they should have it about them to make an impact in the Europa League. And you know what, fair play to them, they've put themselves back in contention after that Braga home defeat. It maybe looked like it wasn't possible, but they've got points away from home now where they've made up for that, so who knows how it will end, but it's certainly piqued my interest in it again. And then yesterday, Tony's right, that graphic come up, I think 9 times we've been Easter Road after a European game over the last sort of 20 years or so, and we'd only won once, so fair play to us. I thought first half, apart from the sort of first 10-15 minutes where Hibs sort of tried to get at us, we were fine. I don't think we were overly, and then maybe had one chance from Martin Boyle who put it wide, but once we settled in a game, obviously capitalise on a mistake, but it's the mistake that we made them make by pressing them, and then Hitati does well, gives it to Maeda, who can't miss, and then second goal I think is absolutely brilliant. It's sort of played out from the back. I think Schmeichel's sort of forced to play it quickly to Scales, who gives it to Sarachi, who bombs forward 50-60 yards, and then Yang puts a great cross in. Engels, who's got a lot of stick, as Andy says, puts his head where it hurts and puts it in the net and takes a sore one. And with Tony, I think it could have possibly been a red card, but who are we to talk about people getting red cards for putting people in the head, although that was a lot worse than what we've seen recently. And then, as I say, I did think the second half we dropped off, but they get a goal. I didn't think it was a penalty either, but I'll trust if Scales is openly admitting it, then it probably is. We should have had the rain. I think it was Tony again who's right. Bushiri just absolutely cleans out Yang. I don't know why he's not even looked at her, if it was why it took less than 10 seconds to clear. And then I just thought, we seen it out. Like, Schmeichel made 2 good saves, but I didn't feel like sort of under the cosh. I thought Scales themselves played pretty well, and then there was a few shaky moments for Trusty where I thought Bowie sort of was roughing him up, but we stood up to it well enough. And like, Easter Road's been a tough place to go for many Celtic managers, so delighted to get out there with the 3 points. And it brings us only that Dundee game where everybody expected it would be Wilfried Nancy, including Martin O'Neill, but yesterday just before kick-off he announced that he got a call on Saturday to say that he'll be there for one more game. Tony, what the fuck's going on? When are we going to appoint Nancy before Christmas, or do you think that we can take the Celtic board at face value at what they've told O'Neill, that this will be his last game on Wednesday? Although I don't know what sort of paperwork could be holding it up. I think it was November 8th that this guy last managed Columbus Crew, so we've had probably over a month to have sort of clear sailing to get it done. Do you think it's sort of stalling from Celtic to let Martin O'Neill handle these games? And if so, when would you expect him to come in?
Well, listening to O'Neill on TalkSport this morning, he says, yeah, definitely Wednesday's my last game, and he basically says it will be Wilfried Nancy that's going to come in. Are the board stalling? I don't know. It's difficult to tell. I mean, if you believe Dermot Desmond, Brendan Rodgers had been causing all sorts of hassle since summer, so surely if we wanted the Columbus crew manager, we could have sacked Rodgers in June and got him in the next day. Let's be honest, we could have paid the money to get him out his deal and then get the paperwork done, etc. Obviously, I can appreciate it probably takes a wee bit of time, but I would have think we could have got this done as soon as we wanted to. But look, I guess it's worked. You can't deny that the Martin O'Neill interim spell has worked. And the thing is, nobody has a problem with this delay. Like, see if we were getting beat every week and it was Sean Maloney as the manager, like, people begin fucking ballistic. But because it's Martin O'Neill and he's winning, people are quite happy just to let it continue. And see, to be honest, I'm quite happy. I'm quite confident with O'Neill in the dugout going into Wednesday's game, and I would have been quite happy for him to stay on myself. I actually did say I would have been happy for him to stay to maybe even the end of the season, but I don't think he wants that. And I think a lot of people need to realise that it's just not what O'Neill wants. I think he did want the cup final, but it's just, look at the thing is, I mean, where the fuck do you stop with this? Oh, you need to give O'Neill Hearts. I need to give him the cup final. I need to give him the Huns. I need to give him the January transfer window. Before you know it, it's this time next year and he's still the manager. So I don't really know what's going on. But I think Nancy will be in for Hearts, which has got to be such a huge game for him. But I just think with Nancy, it's just such a huge risk. But it's got so much potential as well. You can look at it kind of two ways. Either he comes in, beats Hearts, and we go top, assuming we beat Dundee, which I think we will, then right away everybody's bought in. If we play really well, then people really, really buy in. But if he doesn't, then it's, as I say, it is going to just be constantly, need to go and get O'Neill back. Can we get O'Neill back? Where's Martin O'Neill? Which is going to be fucking torturous to listen to. But no, look, I'm glad O'Neill will get a send off at Celtic Park. I think he deserves it. I think getting into this season with Brendan in charge, you were maybe looking. I always thought the best manager from Steen was between Brendan and O'Neill. You could look at O'Neill won a treble and then his European record, and then Brendan obviously won 2 trebles, should have won 3, or really should have won 4 if he didn't leave to go to Leicester. And I was thinking, if this season, say Brendan had qualified us for the Champions League, done really well and won a treble, for example, then you could really make the argument that he is the best in Steen. But I think O'Neill's wee interim will have cemented in a lot of people's minds that he has been our best manager since Steen, and I think a lot of people credit him with the 25 years of dominance we've had, or well, maybe not all of it, but kind of for most of this century we have been the dominant team, and he kind of laid the groundwork back in 2000, and maybe he saved us from losing that domestic dominance. I had a real fear that was going to collapse this season, and I think Andy alluded to you guys did think Hearts would fall away, and I didn't. I really didn't think Hearts would just fall off a cliff the way they have. I still think they're different for Aberdeen. I don't think they're going to go on that kind of run whereby they fucking just totally faulty bits, and I know I harp on about Tony Bloom and his analytics and whatever else, but I think he's the kind of guy that'll eventually look at somebody like McInnes and just go, right, you get to fuck if he just continues to fail. But look, we've still got a lot of work to do. Nancy's going to need to come in. He's not going to get much time with the players, and he needs to beat Hearts. It's plain and simple as that. So I think it's a risk. I think for every game Martin O'Neill's won, it goes against Nancy in terms of more people then want Martin to stay, and then it's less time for Nancy to implement any of his ideas. So it's an unbelievably huge game for him to come into. So it's a huge risk, but a potentially huge reward. And fingers crossed he come in and he can hit the ground running. I think, look, his first month's going to be a baptism of fire, but let's pinpoint it. Beat Hearts, win the cup final, beat Rangers, and then that's him. He'll be plain sailing. So that'll be his kind of goals. Obviously, there's other games in between, but in terms of appeasing the Celtic fans, that's what he'll need to do. So again, I think Martin O'Neill would be would welcome staying on at Celtic in some kind of role. I think Wilfried Nancy could win a few people over by saying, I would like Martin O'Neill as my director of football or in a consultancy role or an advisor, something like that. I think that would be an immediate get fans on side. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. I'm not entirely sure if it is or not, but I think Martin O'Neill probably a great person to have around the club. So Nancy comes in right away and says, I've sat with Martin O'Neill, we've had discussions, we've had a great chat. Just small things like that can really get people on sides. But no, I think I'm looking forward to watching Wednesday, to be fair. I'm actually looking forward to seeing us again. I think obviously the last podcast we done, I was doom and gloom as you could have been. And I was like, I fucking don't know what I'm supporting, whatever else. But I think when I seen the away fans in Feyenoord, I thought that's what I'm supporting. These people here, these are your people. These are the people Tommy Burns spoke about, that they're there and they're always there. So I was just delighted for them, and obviously I'm happy for the players as well. I think the last podcast I called them a bag of shite, or a unified bag of shite, and I guess I still don't think we're a great team. I can't lie, but as Andy says, look, when they're shite, we call them shite. When they're good, we praise them to high heavens, and we're more than happy to do that. So I just hope Martin O'Neill can get the win on Wednesday, send him off on a high, and then, I don't know, they're going to bring Nancy out at half time, or announce him on the Thursday, or announce him, I don't know. I don't know if anybody really knows, but you'd like to think it'd be over the line soon, and then he's got a month to plan for January, which is going to be huge. As much as this has been a good wee run of form, we need players ASAP. We need a striker for definite. We need wingers, we need defenders, we need midfielders. So, and we probably need to ship a few players out. So it's a huge period of time for the club. This, but hopefully we can get everything right, and we'll see how it goes.
Aye, as you say, and I think the important thing you mentioned, there's two things I thought that I picked up on there was, I don't think Martin O'Neill wants to hang about for long. I think he's obviously a guy in his 70s who's obviously enjoyed being back for this short spell, but I think he wants it to be a short spell. I don't think he wants to be here for the full season, and as you say, I think people need to listen to him when he's saying that. I don't think he's just saying it to, like, for anybody else's benefit. I think he is sort of just that way inclined. The second thing he says was obviously that we're now a month away from the transfer window, so if it's going to be non-safe, we've got to get him in. And look, I know we're playing games every 3-4 days, so he won't have much time on the training field, but you've got to get him in so he can have a proper look at these players and get to know them and get to know what he feels he needs. Like, and there's only so much you can do from watching games on a laptop, like, which I'm sure he'll be doing the now if he's sort of just in storage until they bring him out on Thursday or whatever. But I don't know, like, you're right as well. There's no perfect time to throw him in. We don't have a gap. We had a fucking international break if we'd wanted to bring him in and give him a week and a half to settle, but there's no time like that now, and it's like one of the things where it's like crossing the road where there's busy traffic, where you're going to have to throw him in at one point. He's going to try and get to the other side where there's a league cup and a top of the table position waiting for him. It could go wrong. He could try and cross that road and get hit with a motor, but at the same time, if he gets across, then he finds the treasure at the other side, and it would be the perfect start for him if he was to come in and do that. But Danny, what about you? Is it sort of, is what Tony says as well, is the fact that we are winning games, and apart from that blip in Midtjylland, the fact we've won every other game, is that sort of masking the fact that how shambolic our efforts to replace Brendan Rodgers have been? Obviously he was let go at the end of October and we're now at the start of December.
No, I mean, they're obviously pretty set on their man, aren't they? I mean, they're taking their time to make sure it gets done, but I think the big disappointment for me was not having somebody ready to go coming out the international break. I think it probably goes back to the fact that whatever happened that Monday afternoon with Rodgers and the board taking a few folk by surprise, and the board need to, I think you should always have a continuity plan. There should always be something in the back of your mind whether something goes wrong or for any eventuality, and it seems to me that, well, let's be honest, Celtic board have never really planned ahead, so they were obviously called on it, and you see international break, that was happening, and I think we all just thought, you know what, you've got 2 weeks to go and get a manager, and then it looked like we were getting him because Nancy was at the Friday night, and then it went quiet, and O'Neill's coming out, and it was meant to be Wednesday night, and now O'Neill's coming out and he's managing the team on Wednesday, and looks like for the last time. So it's been a bit of a shit show from start to finish, but I think the board have got their man, whether that means anything or not. I think this is their number one target, or whether he was or no, I don't know. But I think given the way that things have been going on and the way that they've seemed to, they're waiting for him, I think he must be the number one target. With O'Neill, I think Tony's right. I don't think we're a great team. I think the biggest difference in O'Neill was probably a change of ideas for Rodgers, and O'Neill's clearly gave the team a lot more confidence, a lot more dig about them. Like, I just thought the other night in Feyenoord, the performance was just so gritty and it was so determined, and they got the exact same traits yesterday, got us over the line. You didn't really get that for Rodgers' team. And I see that, every time I see it on Twitter, I see it in all places, it's like folk putting about into Rodgers. I just think that it clearly had gone stale between Celtic and Rodgers in this, like, leading up to the summer, and we didn't get that kind of refresh that we were needing. And do you know what? We probably wouldn't have won a few of the games if Rodgers was still here, but Anil's just come in with some ideas. He's not changed too much. It's not drastic. I mean, the St Mirren game was just like watching every other game we've had this season, and yesterday at spells was kind of similar. So Anil's done a great job, and he's kind of cemented his Celtic legacy, and it was a big risk for him probably to come up. I think people would have held it too much against the things they'd continued to go south, but it is always a risk to come back up when, it's not as if he's needing the money, and he's 73, fuck's sake, he probably could be damn for it, but he's kind of saved the season in a lot of ways. And no, as I say, he's leaving. It's funny, I always think a good manager's like, you leave the job better than what you come into it, and he's definitely left the job better than what he came into it, so he deserves credit for that. I do think we need a manager, we need a permanent manager, we need 5 or 6 new players, I think we need a style of play, we need a bit of system, we need a new system, because I think Rodgers' style had obviously went flat, and O'Neill's not really, just moved the ball up the park a wee bit quicker, but it's no night and day for Rodgers. You're just seeing confident players where O'Neill's, they seem to really want to play for O'Neill and want to kind of run that extra 10, 15 yards for O'Neill, put in the tackles for O'Neill, so O'Neill deserves credit for that. But I'm looking forward to a new manager in a style. It's a hairy time. It's a really, and you know what, it's on the board, because I mean the boys are right. Every time Celtic drop a point, it'll be obvious just to kept O'Neill. God forbid we only win that League Cup, or we should just have kept O'Neill, and that's, people are going to have that. I've always said it, but I don't think O'Neill's particularly enjoying it. I mean, he's probably loving being back at Celtic, but you see him, at times he's coming out and he's cutbar after the games and that, but I thought he's aged quite a bit in a couple of weeks that he's been here. And he keeps saying he doesn't want it long term. He wants to put the door. He wants a new manager to come in and he's in stuff. And there's folk determined that he was going to stay as a director of football. They were talking him replacing Law as the chairman. It's just pie in the sky stuff. I think the guy just wants to get back to his quiet life. Although I would imagine there's a role. I think Maloney will probably get back to his own role. I'd like there to be a role for Matt Foringham. I think there's a big difference in Engels since he's come in. I think in the midfield, certainly in the midfield, seems to be a wee bit more cohesive since he's come in. So I'd like to think maybe he could hang about, but you need to let your man bring in his own people, and it's something that we've not done. So you need to let him bring in his own staff and see what happens. But I wouldn't mind if there was a role for Foringham there. But just to cap off, O'Neill deserves so much credit for the way he's been able to achieve. Him, and not just him, but Maloney, Foringham, the rest of them, they've done a really good job in the last kind of 6 weeks. But I'm looking forward to us having a manager, and then you can start looking at January and the players. He'll have his own list of players, I'd imagine. Like Ange did with Japan, I think he's probably going to tap into the American market, and hopefully, I mean, there's got to be a couple of decent enough players coming off of there, so something to look forward to. But it's a bit of a kind of tense time of the season. December's always been really massive for us. It's always been a big month leading up to Christmas and the kind of turn of the year. But this one feels a wee bit bigger with the cup final. You're chasing Hearts down. You've got Rangers at the start of the year as well. So it's a great time if everything's firing in all cylinders. But I still think Celtic are a wee bit kind of stop-start this season, and hopefully Nancy doesn't really suffer for that when he comes in.
Aye, definitely, and I think just with this sort of trajectory the club's had since the turn of the century, you're right, O'Neill deserves immense credit, not just for that, but for he's changed the trajectory of this season as well. I don't think it's too far to say that he's saved this season for us. I mean, I think innovation's the minimum he deserves on Wednesday. But if I was the Celtic board, I'd be saying, right, do you want the North Stand named after you, or did you want a statue outside? Because I think he's that big a figure in Celtic history. He's a legend, and I'm glad the sort of younger fans are getting to see what the big fuss was that other dads and uncles were telling them about O'Neill's teams and how good a manager he was. So it'll be hopefully, like, get the win first, but it'll hopefully be a great occasion to celebrate him. Andy, what about you? As I say, I think like it's going to be a big occasion anyway, as every game is for Celtic the now. But would you expect this to be O'Neill's last game? I know we all expected Sunday to be, but just quickly, would you expect that? And you can start us off with what you're thinking for that Dundee game as well, with a wee prediction.
Just for a move on, I mean, quite funny you talk about Martin O'Neill getting a statue. We certainly know the Celtic board won't be contributing a fucking penny to that, considering what's came out about the good work the guys are doing for the Tommy Gemmell statue that they're trying to erect, and we know that the club won't even entertain helping them out. But I wouldn't hold my breath for Martin O'Neill getting one either in that case. I don't know. I really don't. I didn't think he'd be here as long as he was. I've got no idea. I'm with Danny. I think he does probably want to get back down and just sort of drift into the distance and get back to his gig and just sort of punditry and let it all die down again, because you do forget his age, to be fair, although he doesn't look it sometimes the way he's running up to the fucking touchline. But I think it probably will be his last game, and it should be. I think it's maybe went on too long at this stage. I don't know what the fuck the hold-up's been, and I think it was Tony or Danny that mentioned it earlier, but there's a lot of truth in almost becoming a bit of a victim of the success that O'Neill's having. Because our fans are so reactive, I think we all know that. But the minute we don't want to fucking throw in under Nancy, there's going to be people on his case demanding that we bring O'Neill back, and especially when there's inevitably going to be a transition to playing the way he wants to play. I think Danny's spot on when he speaks about O'Neill hasn't really tweaked that much. No, that much has changed. Or maybe no is guilty of overplaying anyway. We maybe mix it up a wee bit and give that element of doubt to the opposition in terms of we will go really direct when it's not working for playing it out. But a lot of the players are doing similar things. We are just a bit more forceful at times and maybe a bit quicker on the ball, but the overall idea hasn't really changed for what I can see. Whereas a new manager's obviously long-term thinking, he's going to change that in a different way that somebody who's in just for a short duration wouldn't. It's more about maintenance at that point for them. Whereas Nancy's going to come in and want to implement his own ideas. And listen, I think we all know, if we're open and honest enough, there's no team in the world that has to change things and doesn't have wee teething problems here and there, and players to understand when different things are being asked of them. So we maybe are going to be guilty of that, because as I say, we do have the most reactive fan base in the world. But again, hopefully it's a resounding success and he starts off with a win. But before that Dundee, again, a game that we should be winning, and I think we will. We go in good form. We go in again, like, they're a fucking sorry state. I mean, I think, to be fair, they've probably won about 2 games all season, one of them against us, but players should be looking to go in and sort of set that record straight. Didn't cover themselves in glory that day. This is your opportunity to turn up at home again, take the plaudits for a performance in Holland, take the plaudits for a performance Easter Road, and go and put another one in. And again, I just don't see Martin O'Neill sort of signing off his second stint at the club with anything other than a victory in the stadium chanting his name, which is exactly as he deserves. But I reckon it'll be another good performance. Darn, I'm going to go for 3-0, and actually I fancy Engels to go on the score sheet again.
I would take that. I'll go next with a quick prediction. I think it'll be 6-0 Celtic. I think everybody will be buzzing. I think the team will be buzzing. They'll want to send Martin off. I heard McCowan earlier speaking highly of him. I think everybody in the team sort of go well behind him, and I think, look, if Hearts draw, there's a chance we can go top of the league on Wednesday. I think they've got 4 goals more, better goal difference in us at this point, so I think we'll be able to look to capitalise on that if we can. As you say, it's a chance to make amends for that Dens Park display, and I think Dundee only won that was their first game at the weekend. They've won since that game, so as you say, they're in pretty poor form, but I'm sure they'll take confidence for that win at the weekend. But no, I think we'll win. I'll go for 6-0, and if there's enough goals there for it to be spread, I think Dice Maid will go on the score sheet, and then he'll just be joined by a few others. But I think it'll be a great occasion, and I'll give you a prediction. I think Nancy will be in the stand, and that'll sort of add to the buzz as well in terms of actually looking like it might happen, and I think it will be in Neil's last game and he'll be sent off the way he deserves a massive victory. Tony, what's your score prediction?
Yeah, this is a prediction I love giving. I've not gave it, I doubt I've gave it this season at all. 5-0 to Celtic. I think you're right. I think the players will be desperate to send a Neil out with a resounding victory. There's so many reasons that we should be looking to put on a performance. We should always be looking to put one on, obviously, but just the fact that Hearts up next, cut the goal difference, put pressure on them. They're playing the same time as us. They're obviously a bit nervous as well. Rangers have a tough game as well. We're 7 points clear of them, so you've also got a chance to kind of hopefully further the gap with them. I'll go for Engels, Hatate, Maida, Yang, and Liam Scales to score. So, yeah, 5-0 Celtic. I think Hearts will probably beat Kelly, and then we'll go into a huge game on Sunday.
Danny, what about you? If you predict a win here, I think it might feel like only the second or third time this season that we've all predicted wins.
It might be, I'll not let the team down now. I think we'll win. I can't see us scoring 6. I think it'll be 3 maximum, maybe 4. I think we'll be totally comfortable though. We need to get an early goal. If we play like we did against Kilmarnock at home, and who was Neil's first game? Falkirk. We played
Falkirk
really well
at
that
home,
night. We played well that night, so if we play like that again, I think we can score on all 4 goals. And I'm going to go for McCowan. I think if he starts, he'll get a goal. And loving the Engels shouts because I'm a big fan of Engels, but I'm going to go for Scales, and I think Sriracha will score as well. He came close to the weekend and he's getting closer, so I'll go for 2 defenders, but I think it'll be comfortable and Neil will get a really well-deserved send-off and we can start to look forward to the future. I do also think Hearts will win on Wednesday night, but I think it sets up a cracker on Sunday, and I'm really looking forward to that game because if it is Nancy's first game, then he comes in and what a chance to go tap the league. You know, we were talking about been 8 points behind Hearts, and then at one point we were 9 with a game in hand. But to be able to go tap and still have a game in hand, I mean, sets you up for a cup final when your big game against Roma. We might fucking never look back this season, but need to get there first. But kind of starting to cautiously be optimistic again.
Well, there you go. It probably is the most optimistic episode we've had this season. But there you go for predicted wins, comfortable wins at that, and the chance that Celtic might go top of the league as well. I know Hearts are at home with Kilmarnock, which Kilmarnock are probably the worst team in the league at this stage in terms of form, so they'll be expecting to win. But even if we just go out and put a massive win, it sort of lets Hearts know as well that we're ready for Sunday. And I think the sort of Neil factor's a big player as well in terms of the team being up for it, and I think they will, and I can't see it other than a comfortable Celtic victory. But if you've made it this far, thanks very much for listening. Probably the most positive episode we've had this season, as I say, probably only 10% of the episode bashing the board, so thanks very much for listening. If you're wanting more, Tony's been on Gig Pod, so go and listen to them, and we'll speak to you after that Dundee game